Before Babylon came and attacked Judah, God sent a prophet named Jeremiah to speak his words to God's people. Jeremiah said, "The sin of the people of Judah is like words carved into a stone. It can't be simply wiped away." Jeremiah shared more of God's words, saying, "The person who trusts in other people is cursed, because people are sinful and imperfect. People cannot save themselves. The person who trusts in the Lord, however, will be strong and healthy, like a tree planted by water." Through Jeremiah, God also said, "Our hearts are deceitful, and we cannot understand them. But God knows our hearts, and God is trustworthy. He gives each person what they deserve according to their character." Even though people have sinful and deceitful hearts, Jeremiah shared how God's promised to make a new covenant with his people. Jeremiah said, "Look, the days are coming when I will make a new covenant with my people. It will be different from the old covenant I made with them when I freed them from Egypt. They broke that covenant, but they would not be able to break this one. I will put my teaching within them and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. All my people will know me, from the least to the greatest. I will forgive them and never remember their sin." Like God's people, we all have sinful hearts that do not obey God or love Him rightly. Through Jesus' death on the cross, God made a new covenant. Those who trust in Jesus have their sin forgiven and have the law written on their hearts.
Wow, there's a lot going on in that short video. And I think you'd agree with me, that's a pretty bad situation. Now, Jeremiah had actually been preaching, telling Judah what God wanted them to do for about 30 years. That's a long time to keep telling the people of Judah the same thing over and over. But that was the problem with the people of Judah. They just didn't listen. They didn't change their hearts. And like Jeremiah said, they had sin written on their hearts. It was deeply engraved in what they were doing, what they wanted to do, what they were thinking about. And it was so deep that they were openly worshiping other gods, making false little statues and saying, "This is the God that we worship." And because of all of their sin and the 30 years that Jeremiah spent trying to get Judah to change their ways, God became very angry. He kept warning them and they didn't listen. So there's going to be worse punishments because they won't listen to the prophet and the little punishments that God gave them. God just wants them to repent, to trust in Him. And repent is a big word that we use sometimes. It's really just turning our hearts away from the things that we like to do and turning them back to God. And so Jeremiah is constantly telling the people of Israel to turn to God, to trust in God. And this is the same problem that we often have nowadays too, isn't it? We don't trust God, we trust ourselves. We trust what we like to do, what we think is best. We might not be making idols like the people of Judah were, but we're still not trusting God. However, there's something even better about trust, that we can trust God to forgive us. We can listen to what He says, trust the promises that He makes, and listen to them. And let's look at Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 5 through 6, and see what God is saying about people who don't trust Him. And I know there's a lot of words up there, but I want to focus on cursed is the man who trusts in man. He's like a shrub in the desert. He's not going to see anything good come, and he's dwelling in the parched places, the dry places of the wilderness. I don't want to live in dry places, especially if I'm a shrub. I want water. I want to live in a plentiful place, a place that's going to help me grow and develop and actually be the human being God created me to be. But unfortunately, if you're not trusting God, you don't have a lot of that. You're trusting things that can't support you, that can't actually help you succeed and flourish. But let's look at verses 7 through 8 now. In contrast, this is how God describes the person who actually trusts Him. He's a tree planted by water that sends out its roots, does not fear when heat comes, its leaves remain green, and he's not anxious because he does not cease to bear fruit. Trusting in God is like being a tree by a river. You have a constant source of life, a constant source of that water that helps you grow and flourish and develop. And even in difficult times, like Jeremiah says, when the heat comes, even then, you can still trust. You're not anxious, you're not worried, because you know that God is going to take care of you. Well, and I want this. I want to be able to flourish, to have water, and to never be worried, so I can just decide that I want to trust God, and that's it, right? Well, no, that's not how that works. If we look at the next verses here in Jeremiah, Jeremiah goes on to say, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? And this is one of our big problems, that no matter how hard we try, time and time again, to trust God, our heart's going to trick us. It's going to trick us into thinking that we can trust these other things, that they're going to provide for us, or it can even trick us into thinking that what we're doing is good, even if it's something that's against what God has commanded us to do. Our hearts are really, really tricky, and we don't really understand why that is, especially as sinful human beings with these hearts that are tricky. And then also, you look at verse 10, God searches our hearts. He knows what's on our minds, what's on our hearts. That's not good news at all. I can't trust God. I want to do my own thing, and He knows everything that I'm trying to do. He knows everything that I'm thinking, saying, and doing, and everything that I have thought, said, or done. That's really bad. I'm in big trouble. I'm a little afraid. Is there anything I can do to get out of this? Well, no, I can't do anything. But let's take a look at Jeremiah 31. This is near the end of Jeremiah's book, or closer to the end here, and God makes promises to the people of Judah. He says, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Not like the covenant that He made with them when He brought them out of Egypt, the covenant that they broke, even though God loved them like a husband. God is the one who's making the covenant. We aren't able to change our hearts to make sure that we always trust in God. But God is the one who's going to do things for us, to save us, to change our hearts. And God goes on to say in verses 33 and 34 that this is the covenant. This is what He's actually going to do. He's going to put His law within us and give us a new heart. He's going to be their God. They will be His people. And this is incredible, especially because of the warnings that Jeremiah gave the people. He told them, you have sin written, even engraved on your heart. You can't fix this yourself, but God is going to give them a new heart, a heart that doesn't have sin engraved on it. Instead, it's a heart that trusts God, that trusts what He is able to do. And if you look at the very end of these verses, God even says He will forgive their iniquity and He will remember their sin no more. That's also pretty tough. It's tough for me to trust that when God says He's forgiven my sins and even that He's forgetting them, that He does that. Because whenever I do something bad, I always remember it. It plays over and over in my head, and I always think, man, I shouldn't have done that. That was bad. That was dumb. Why did I do that? And again, that's that tricky, deceitful heart that we all have. But God says He doesn't remember what we've done that's bad. He gives us this new heart. And how does He do this? Well, He does this through Jesus. Jesus is the one who came and instituted the new covenant. He gives us that new heart, a heart that trusts in God, a heart that is planted by streams of water. We trust that God comes and gives us that forgiveness, that he gives us the ability to actually trust in him rather than trusting in our own deceitful desires or ways. God gives us everything that we need. And so we can rejoice in that. We can turn to God, pray for forgiveness when we sin, and hear his promises that he actually forgives and even forgets all of the evil things that we have done because of Jesus.